Hello, today is the 25th of July 2023, and we'll talk about two architects, Glenn Murcutt and Eric Cowan Moss. Let's read a little bit about Glenn Murcutt. So he was born on July 25th, 1936. He's an Australian architect and winner of the 1992 Alvar Medal and the 2002 Pritzker Architecture Prize. The 2009 American Institute of Architects Gold Medal and the 2021 Premium Imperiale. Glenn Murcutt works as a sole practitioner without staff, builds only within Australia, and is known to be very selective with his projects. Being the only Australian winner of the prestigious Pritzker Prize, he is often referred to as Australia's most famous architect. Touching the earth lightly, I think I came across these words in relation with his work. Maybe he pronounced them. So Glenn Murcutt is a modernist, a naturalist, an environmentalist, a humanist, an economist, an ecologist, encompassing all of these distinguished qualities in his practice as a dedicated architect who works alone from concept to realization of his projects in his native Australia, said his Pritzker Prize citation. And this is the man, the lone practitioner. I'm usually not very fond of Homo economicus, but we read here that he's also considered, among other things, an economist and an ecologist. Interesting. Anyway, I don't know why I like to think that ecologists are rather modest, modest beings. But I don't know why, and I could be wrong. I don't feel that Glenn Murcutt is a very modest man. I could be wrong. Anyway, there is something ostentatious, about working alone in today's world. I mean, you could say that he is a romantic architect, and there is some, possibility for some romance, so to speak, or something being romantic in the fact that he works alone. But I don't know. Anyway, it's good that he succeeds, and he did indeed. Some drawings of Glenn Murcutt, working drawings, a little perspective. Sorry for the resolution. Here is the project of a house which he built. Which might have inspired also a rather similar building, but a museum by Herzog and de Meuron in the United States. He's not, I will be honest, he's not one of my favorite architects, but he's certainly a unique case, working alone and arriving at the heights, at the altitude of receiving the Pritzker Prize in architecture. Glenn Murcutt. Now we begin our trip, our journey through his works with this house, the Simpson-Lee house from 1962. This pavilion-like house in, I have difficulties to pronounce the name, was designed by Murcutt to meet his clients' demands for a minimal monastic-like dwelling. It is oriented towards a fall in the landscape, which is framed through large expanses of glass that slot into its visually and physically lightweight steel frame. Here is the house. A rendering Lots of glass. Now, lots of glass, in my opinion, are a little bit problematic with what we call ecology or sustainability. Glenn Murcutt. Very well crafted indeed, his buildings. As a lone practitioner, he pays attention to everything. Uh, the Short House, Kempsey, 1980, Short House was conceived as two adjoining volumes set askew, which separates its sleeping and living areas, separated. It has since been extended, but continues to be characterized by its timber frame and corrugated metal roof modeled, which was informed by farm shed construction techniques. And we saw the drawings for this house. Maybe I like scandalous buildings, but I find his architecture beyond the, the recognizable qualities that it has, a little bit predictable for my taste. But my taste is subjective, so it shouldn't be taken into consideration. Metal, glass with touches of maybe vernacular influence here and there. The pleasure of reading the newspaper on the terrace. I like to imagine that there is a skylight above the, the little kitchen place or space, because I think it's, I mean, here I am talking like a functionalist, but I don't think it's very pleasant to work with the back, especially when your back you have such a large space, and also kind of with your back towards light. So, you know, it looks good in the plan. It's graphically, correct, so to speak. But I don't think it's so pleasant to work, in a rather dark alcove. But maybe there is a skylight above, although I doubt it. Anyway, just an observation I would have. Finish a sketch. Glenn Murcutt, the Pritzker Prize laureate. He did receive it. He's probably the only lone practitioner who received the Pritzker. A chair by Alvarado, in fact, two chairs by Alvarado, in fact, three chairs by Alvarado. I don't know who did the sofa. Another house, 1984, Magni House. I don't know why I don't really see these. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that his houses are not as ecological as they are described. They, when I see all these surfaces of glass, which don't even open, you know, I wonder how he makes the necessary cross ventilation for the building. And, you know, I don't know exactly how the climate is. It's probably warm, but that glass doesn't do a lot of service to the, you know, to the atmosphere inside the building. So what I'm trying to say, I don't quite understand why he is described as, you know, an ecologist. Well, here I see it is as if they do open, maybe through some calculations, they do function properly. Although, anyway, Glenn Murcutt, Australia, a lonely architect or a lone architect who projects buildings alone. This is quite an accomplishment. There are interesting things here, aesthetically speaking. Arthur and Yvonne Boyd Education Center. I read that the word education comes from the Latin word educere, which means to lead forth. And unfortunately, many schools forget to lead forth towards an open horizon. When you look at this and then you see this, I would say it's a nice surprise. Both during the day and during the night. Another house. All these houses, they are all surrounded by a lot of space. So no need for contextualization, because the context is always nature. I mean, historicist or historical contextualization, urban or otherwise. But these houses are all, surrounded by nature. The vast spaces of Australia allow for something like this, I guess. But all in all, I don't really find his architecture, strikingly different, or it's a good architecture. It is architecture, but I find it a little bit predictable. I mean, aesthetically speaking. Lerida Estate Winery building, it could have been a large house, but it is a winery. And he loves metal, obviously. At least he is not flamboyant. I had seen wineries that are, rather flamboyant in their architecture. Marika Alderton House. But his buildings do allow you to contemplate how they were coming into being. You understand how they are made. And I think this is a quality. Sorry about the resolution of the picture, of the drawing. watching TV. This building, this house is this building is one of his best, in my opinion. I have to study it more carefully to understand better how it functions, but it seems uh, this building does have qualities also in the field of ecology. It's more like an intuition that I have. Silver City Museum, not bad. Kempsey Museum, 1976, 1979. It is clear that this architect is interested in materiality, and he doesn't just draw lines that look okay or great, but those lines mean matter, materials, and his buildings are built with knowledge and I would say great interest in what we call the detail. He's a builder. He didn't build the carriages. The Australian Islamic Centre in Melbourne, 2016, Murcutt designed this contemporary mosque to challenge the traditional forms of Islamic architecture and create a space for both Muslims and non-Muslims. It is distinguished by rows of dramatic lantern-like skylights that project from its roof and funnel light into the building. These are the skylights. I'm thinking a little bit of the triangulations of the roofing, ceiling of the Yale Art Museum or gallery that Louis Kahn and An Ting built. But what we see here is rather ingenious. Who would have thought that this is a mosque? I congratulate him for making such an unusual mosque. The multitude of skylights actually express, that multiplicity which is balanced by the unicity or the, in the unity of the building as a whole. I like this work by this architect exactly because it doesn't look like a mosque, but it is a mosque. And why shouldn't color be brought in a mosque? I think color is could be very useful, and it is in this case. A joyous mosque, why not? Is it irreverentious? I don't know, but it shouldn't be. I guess he did a lot of studies in order to arrive at the building, the way he completed it. An interesting idea to populate the roof with these with a multitude of skylights that together create some kind of an ornament. So it's an ornamented roof. So just a second. Something happened here. I'm sorry. What did I do here? Well, the presentation actually ended rather abruptly, and I apologize, with this image, his own drawing of this mosque. A rather unusual building, rather unusual mosque, and I think it shows the abilities of Glenn Murcutt to surprise us. So let's wish him happy birthday, and let's have a short talk, if you don't mind.